Welcome to the lesson walkthrough for lesson 1.1.4. Today in class, what we worked on was actually some pretty fun stuff about the Jumping Frog Jubilee. We got a chance to look at some different tables to see what questions we could ask ourselves about the data that was shown. We're doing something very, very similar. You can see me on my screen getting into the ebook now, 1.1.4. That is what we're going to be looking at. Here's all the stuff we did today in class. I'm scrolling down already to the review preview section. Most of you have only 3 problems that you're going to be responsible for. So the problems that I will be covering today are problems 28, 29, and 31. So the first one is problem 28, as you see right here. So to get started, we always want to work on labeling our paper appropriately. So you can see here I have my document camera up and ready. So I am going to title my assignment 1.1.4. Remember that I'm using that left margin to keep track of what questions I'm working on. So I'm starting with 128. Do that on your paper now. Again, if you're using the ebook, the hints are available to you. If you are not using the ebook and you're just using the textbook, it's very similar to the ebook. So we'll be taking a look at both. So right now I'm just going to put the regular textbook in front of us here to take a look. We're going to zoom in to question 28. Question 28 says, the table at right, this table, shows data for the winter temperatures in urban Illinois. Below, you will brainstorm questions that could be answered using this data. We did the same thing with the Jumping Frog Jubilee today in class. So for A, it's asking you to create a question that could be answered by using all of the data. So try and think of a question that could be created using all of the data involved. Okay? You'll see on the table that it goes over the year. Okay, so winter happens once a year, so it goes from 1990 to 1999. It gives you the average temperature that winter. Then the table kind of moves over. That's why there's that little space right here. And it goes from 2000 to 2009 with the average temperatures. Okay, so you see how it's kind of split in the middle, but both sides contain the same information. So looking at it, see if for A, you can create a question that could be used for using all of the data. So you could answer a question using all of the data. Do that now. Pause the video and do that now. For B, when you're ready, it says, create a question that could be answered using just some of the data. So maybe you want to take a look at only using half of the table. What's a question that you could ask only using maybe half of the data on the table? Take some time to do that now. Pause the video as you're working. When you're ready to move on to C, it says, how could you organize the data to answer your questions? So that's something that we might want to take a look at the ebook to see if it gives us some type of a hint. Let's see here. Here is the help for questions A, B, and C for 28. C says, how could you organize the data to answer your questions? Let's see what the hint says. It says, think back to how you have done past problems similar to the one you just created. You could try making a histogram or making a table of data. Okay? So think about how you could organize the information from the table. You can break it up as you need to answer the questions that you came up with for B and the questions that you came up with for A. This is going to require a little bit of thinking outside the box. So this is a pretty challenging problem. Remember, if you're still struggling, it's always best just to give it your best shot, okay? At least make an attempt to solve the problem. Let's look back to the next question that we're going to be going over, which is question 129. This question is going to be looking at the histogram over on this side of the page. So the question says, use the histogram at right to answer the following questions, A, B, and C. The histogram contains the amount of snowfall in urban Illinois during winter from 1990 to 2009. If you remember, this table also shared the same data, it just looked a little bit different. Now it's presented to us in a histogram, okay? Let's review a little bit how to read a histogram. Okay, it's going to have an x-axis and it's going to have a y-axis. We did this on one of our very first days of using the new math program that we're in. So if you look at the bottom, these numbers are telling us snowfall in inches, okay? And this x-axis over here is telling us the number of years, okay? So how I would read this is for 1 year there was 5 inches of snowfall, okay, in 1 year. How many years were there between 5 and 10 inches of snow, okay? It looks to me like the histogram is telling me that there were about 5 years where they had about 5 to 10 inches of snow. So between, remember this is between 1990 and 2009, so that's quite a period of time. We're looking at between 5 and 10 inches of snow, about 5 years there was about that much snow, okay? So it's asking you for A. It says, which range of snowfall measurements occur most often, okay? So is it between 0 and 5, 5 and 10, 10 and 15, 15 and 20, 20 to 25, or 25 to 30? Which range of snowfall measurements occurred most often? B is asking us, were there any years with unusually high or low snowfall amounts? Can you tell by looking at this graph, were there any years with unusually high or low snowfall amounts? And for C, it says, half of the years had snowfall amounts above how many inches? So for that, you're going to need to take a look at this table, okay? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different amounts that are being looked at, or ranges. Remember that this amount is showing you between 0 and 5. So you have 6 different ranges that you're looking at. Half of those years had snowfall amounts above how many inches, okay? Take a look and see if you can answer that question. Pause the video now. The other question that we're going to be looking at is question 131. It says, round each number to the specified place. Read the math notes box in this lesson for a reminder of rounding to a given place value, okay? For this problem, it is going to tell you what the number is, and then it's going to tell you what place value you need to round it to, okay? So let's look at A as an example. First thing you need to do is identify which number is actually in the hundreds place. Which number are we going to be looking at, okay? Which number is in the hundreds place? For this question, for A, 2 is in the hundreds place, okay? This number reads 5,294 and 6/10, okay? Once you identify what number is in the hundreds place, you can tell me, is this number closer to 5,200 or 5,300? You're going to tell me which one it's closer to, 5,200 or 5,300, okay? If you look over here for B, your number is 45,469 and 23 hundredths, okay? You need to round to the thousand place. Which number is in the thousand place? Find it. It would be the 5, and you're going to tell me, okay, is this number closer to 45,000 or is it closer to 46,000? When you get down here, it becomes a little bit more difficult because you're looking at the hundredth place and the thousandth place, okay? Remember to go back in your math notes earlier. Let's zoom out a little bit and take a look at where those are actually located in our book. In our book, we do have the math notes that gave us kind of a good visual of our place value. All right, you'll have to pardon that little problem that the camera was having. But if we zoom in here, give me 1 second. We can zoom in and see where our tenths, hundredths, and thousandths place values are. So if it's asking you to round to the hundredths place, you're going to look and see which number is in the hundredths place and give it a try. You can see that the hundredths place is 2 parts, okay, 2 hops past the decimal. You can also see that the thousandths place is 3 hops past the decimal. Does that make sense? That will help you get started on that. Let's go back a little bit further through our book. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. Page 20 also has some information here about how to round. If you are having trouble rounding some numbers that are past the decimal point, you're going to want to look right here, okay? This tells you how to round to the nearest tenth, which is a number that is past the decimal point, okay? So you're going to want to look right here as a reference. Again, some of this stuff is a review, okay? Some of this stuff is new. The general expectation for you is that you give it your best try. If you have any questions, remember to go back into the ebook and find some hints. You can see on my screen I'm in the ebook now. If I'm having trouble with 131 right here, I'm going to click on the help. I'm going to see what kind of help that it provides for me when I'm having trouble rounding numbers, okay? This one gives you the answer as an example. For D, it gives you a good hint. It says C part A, all right? Remember that visual? It popped up right there for you on the math notes, so that's something that you can use as well. Step 1, it gives you the steps. It breaks it down a little bit for you. So remember to use those if you have access to them. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask during your time in math class, and I will see you tomorrow.